Welcome to the Shells Exchange podcast, where we discuss all things women, whether it's dating, relationships, motherhood to careers, entrepreneurship, or securing your seat at the table. The Shells Exchange gives influencers who may not be considered mainstream a platform to share their perspectives in a comfortable and safe space. Today we are talking with a good friend of mine, Ebony Cattouse Stewart. She's a creator, entrepreneur, mother, and wife. With her 10 years experience in the event world, Ebony has developed an exceptional event execution, creating, producing, and collaborating on corporate social events and various milestone gatherings. She coordinated and produced events for NBC Universal and the ABC network. This experience resulted in a strong skill set that continues to allow her to seamlessly plan and execute events and experiences in a wide range of spheres. Known for her excellent organizing skills, Ebony has provided exclusive concierge service for her high-end clients in New York City and California. Her love for culture, food, and the arts has inspired her to create and now reach international clients in Central America and the Caribbean. This platform allows her to seamlessly plan and execute events and experiences for other entrepreneurs. Mrs. Stewart enjoys cooking and entertaining at home with her little family, which includes her toddler. She also enjoys traveling and indulging in delicious cuisine. Stay tuned for a conversation with Ebony.
Hi, Ebony. Thank you for joining me today. I deeply appreciate you being my first guest. We've known each other for a while, so I felt like it was only right that I would have you as one of my first guests on this podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, despite, being locked in, but we're doing pretty well. I'm excited.
So am I.
So about to be the first guest of your podcast. Super duper excited.
I'm definitely excited too. Again, I appreciate it, but let's jump right in. So
Sure.
Tell us about yourself, and we know you have multiple brands. Tell us about those brands and how you're managing it all.
Okay. So I have multiple, different businesses. Brands are pretty much attached or connected to each business. So first and foremost, I'm an event planner, event producer. I've been in the event industry for 10 years. I also now own a travel service company. So I'm a travel specialist, whereas we not only coordinate and plan group trips, group travels in Central America and the Caribbean, but we also book individual travels for folks who are looking to take either that family vacation, girls trip, solo vacation, or, more, either bachelorette weekend, guys weekend. So Ebony Travels is the place for that. Another thing, business recently, my husband and I both invested in, we just both purchased and own our own event space and restaurant and lounge. So that is also new in Brooklyn. So that's another thing. So, building and growing this empire. So that's pretty much the Ebony C. Stewart brand right there for you.
That's great. And I know that we always have conversations about motherhood, entrepreneurship, things of that nature, how we're going crazy or not going crazy for that time being. And I know that a part of your brand now also caters to moms, a part of your travel brand. So
exactly.
Tell us about,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Tell us about,
yes.
So tell us about how you're helping moms like myself to kind of breathe and take a break from the entrepreneurship world or their 9-to-5 world.
Right. So what I call myself these days is also the mompreneur, which I'm not your typical entrepreneur because as a mompreneur, I actually, when I had my son, 3 months after having my son, I had events that was booked and ready to go. And when it was time to execute and meeting with these clients, they decided to actually pull out on their contract and working with me because I was a new mom of a newborn, and they didn't feel that I was actually capable and ready to give it my all. That actually motivated me, and, you know, I decided to create a YouTube channel, thanks to also you, Shalon. I created a YouTube channel where I share tips and advice on, you know, what it's like being a first-time or a new mom who's also in the event industry and building these different businesses, you know, from day to day, and also about scheduling and how you can get it done. Now, you know, you can't have it all. It does take a lot to even have it all. You might have to give up some things, but on my YouTube channel, we try to keep it real about scheduling and what it takes to, you know, just get there and executing what you need to get done as a mom. I mean, you have your 9 to 5, your side hustle, or being a full-time entrepreneur or mompreneur. So it's just tips and advice on how to go about all that while building a brand or focusing on your 9 to 5 or building that new business.
I know sometimes growing up, right, we don't really know what we want to do. We go through so many different challenges when we try to figure out what we want to do with our lives, especially as younger adults into older adulthood. How did you discover your purpose? I know you've been an event planner for so long, but now you're transitioning so many things. So what does that journey look like for you?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I never saw myself having kids ever growing up. I always focused on just, you know, the success and having something of my own, no matter what that business was. But I always knew I'm an excellent communicator. I'm super creative. I do know that for sure. And while going through all the trials and error, because there was a lot of trials and error to get where I'm at today, I, you know, end up starting this event company while I was in undergrad, getting ready to go to graduate school, and my boss at the time said she did not want to defer me from going to graduate school, but she felt like I should pursue and get into the event industry. Now, this was back in 2009 in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try at this. Around that time, I had already met my now husband, who introduced me to entrepreneurship when we met when I was in undergrad, and I was like, dude, I have no interest in entrepreneurship whatsoever. But I always knew I wanted to work in the private sector, which is where I somewhat started. I will say I started doing events, doing corporate events and doing private events. And while doing that, I was good at both. However, I knew, you know, the clientele that I wanted to cater to. And I knew where I wanted to go with this, more on a, you know, I would say more of a global level, but not sure how, when, where, and why. But as time progressed, a few years later, after one client led to another, majority of my clientele was all from Manhattan and the Upper East Side, and doing a lot of social events. And I've, you know, produced events when I was working at NBC, ABC, also at Bloomberg LP. And that has provided me more opportunities to work more in the private sector, to where I'm at now. I now produce and focus a lot on helping other corporate companies produce their events, where I produce events for shareholders and other great corporate clients, because corporate companies are now looking for small business owners to bring fresh ideas and exciting experiences. And so that's what I bring, along with that. On top of that, while going through all of this, I reconnected with my wonderful husband 8 years later. And so it was all aligned because God had it that way. I wasn't ready for either marriage or taking on entrepreneurship, being a freshman in college. So now that I was already, a grown woman and had it somewhat all figured out with what I really wanted to do, because this event, being an event planner was working for me. My husband and I, we end up getting married, reconnecting, getting married, had a baby. When they say, how does this stuff go again? It's like Ebony and Omar sitting in a tree, Kissing.
Yeah.
First comes love, then comes marriage. That's how it went for us, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
So
wow.
that's how it went for us. And, I'm at where I'm at today because my husband, I will give him credit to my journey, because he was the first person I ever met in Brooklyn at the time when I moved here from Chicago. He was the first person who introduced me to entrepreneurship and encouraged me to pursue, going into that direction. Not saying I didn't need to go to college. He was telling me, yes, still go on to college, but he was dropping mad knowledge on me, and I had no interest in it. I didn't value it until after.
Wow. Sometimes that does happen for us. People give us advice or some insight on some things that we should do, and we don't listen. But I think it's because a lot of times people can see certain things in us that we can't see in ourselves. And I would say that's kind of how our friendship is. We do this to each other all the time. Like, you see some things in me that I should be doing, and I'm like, Ebony, what are you talking about? And then vice versa. And I think that's really good to have that support. But you talked about Omar, your husband, and how
Omar,
and how he was really there for you and taught you a lot about getting into entrepreneurship. But how important do you think that familiar support is? Do you think that it was necessary in order for you to get that push to get into entrepreneurship, or no?
It was so necessary back then. It was so necessary looking back at it now. Looking back at it now, it was so necessary. Of course, back then I was like, what is this guy talking about? No, I'm going to college. My mom paying for my tuition. I got to make this work. Not saying that I didn't, pursue a college degree. I did, which was in public administration, concentration in international affairs and foreign policy. Yes, folks. No connection, but credentials. But right. But now, looking back at it, I so appreciate it, and it's something that we talk about even to this day, because present day now, we support each other, 1,000%, in our careers, in our businesses, because my husband have always been a hard worker, in pursuing his goals in what he wanted to do. But he always wanted me to do the same for me. So that, for me, has always been a number one, it's like the number one quality, the number one thing that you look for in a partner, period. Doesn't matter who it is. In order for you to either be successful or to either be great at what you do, you have to have a community, or you have to have a support system that will be there for you through the good times and the bad times. And trust me, in business, there is a lot of bad times. As much there is, as much good times. So it's just who is a part of your support system and how you go about dealing with the good and the bad, the ups and downs. But the thing is, he's continuously educating me along the way, because him being an attorney and a doctor, and having the experience with also running a family business, he's able to advise me on certain things. So, you know, that works great, and we are still able to, I don't know how we do it, but we are still able to have that separate conversation or relationship where it's husband and wife and not just business every day, all day.
Right.
Mhm.
Now,
but it do get challenging.
It gets challenging, you said?
Yeah, it does get challenging sometimes with having a child involved, because now, yeah, because now it used to be just you and him, and now there's a little one. So now I will never do anything for a client, or I will never give advice to someone if I'm not going to do it for my own self. That's just how I operate. I'm not going to communicate. I'm not going to produce an event. I'm not going to go about doing business for someone or with someone if a certain way, if I know I wouldn't want it to be, you know, segregated that way to me as well. So there is a time for everything. I have learned to say no a lot while having a child. There's nothing more important than my family. To, you know, when it's my business, I love my business. It once used to be my baby, but now I have my own baby, you know. And these are moments I always say this to myself. The moments I have with my son now I won't be able to get these moments back.
Right.
You know, as much as our kids drives us crazy sometimes, and needs at this point, I have an almost 2-year-old. So he requires a lot of attention and needs a lot of loving, because mama loves to give him as much loving as possible. But at the same time, teaching him to be independent in certain ways. Family is everything to me, and family has always been everything to my husband. So what happens is I had to learn to say no a lot. I will not go to a networking event. I will not take on a project if I know, one, it doesn't connect with my spirit, or my brand, and 3, if my son is not okay, then I'm not going to be a part of that. This is where scheduling comes in. Scheduling is always important. So you look at that schedule, and you always make sure our number one priority is the child. If the child is not being cared for, if we don't have child care covered for in that period of time, then it's a no for me.
Right.
Second, if it doesn't connect or flow with the brand, the business, and that energy is not there, it's a no for me. That's how I operate, and that's something I try to share a lot with my viewers on YouTube, is that money isn't everything. Money comes and goes. You can always make money, but you can never get back that family. You can never get back that time with your kids. You know, and they grow so fast. We talk about this all the time. They grow so fast.
Yes, they do.
You know, I'm now about to have a 2-year-old. And so
and you were pregnant the other day.
I was. And we will get into that real soon too. But, you know, having and running a business at this stage now with a toddler is even more exhausting.
Right.
But guess what? I speak to my son about what I'm doing.
Okay.
And it's almost as if he understands sometimes. I get him involved sometimes. I let him see what I'm doing. And you'll be quite surprised he will calm down. If mommy's on a conference call, he goes to daycare. But if mommy's on a conference call, he's going to, you know, either go take a nap or he will go in his room and play for a few minutes while I'm watching him on the camera from the other room.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about communication. Communication is another thing. It is key on every level.
Right.
In business, with your child, with your client, it's key. And I feel that, and this is the reason why I launched my YouTube channel and the whole mompreneur brand, because it's to show that when in a moment where my business was taken off, every client I had pulled away because they didn't believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
They did not believe in me because, oh, you're a new wife and you're a new mom. Like, there's so much going on in your life. But if I believe I can get it done, and if you believe in me that as much as I do, then I don't see why we should have a problem. So having the unfortunate situation that happened to me as a new mom, my son was 3 months old, I decided I literally felt like I literally did kind of like rebrand in a way, or like rebuild my business from the ground up for me and only me, of what you're going to get from Ebony. You're going to get the mom. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm Ebony. I love what I do. But now everything is on a complete different level. I want to empower other mothers. Don't matter where you are and what you do. I just want to empower you that you are awesome. I did not realize how amazing motherhood is until I finally experienced it myself. So I have a lot of respect for single moms, especially single moms. Okay? I have a lot of respect for single moms, and I tell you this all the time. I do.
You too.
I so do, because my mom became a single mom when I was 8 and my brother was 13, and she did it with both of us. And now being a mom myself, I'm like, dang, I have a support system, and there are some moms who don't have that support system because they're either living far away from their family or they just don't have that support system.
But that's why I appreciate the things that you are doing for moms. I've known you before you were a mom, so I appreciate you including that part of your life into your businesses now, because I don't think people really understand, or some people don't understand what it is to be a mom and how difficult it may be. And the difficulty, it stems from so many different things. It's not just now you have this little person, but it's also trying to remain yourself, or trying to not lose yourself in the process. So I know we kind of went through that journey. I think, a lot of your clients, just abandoning you, for lack of a better word, at that moment. Although at that time it really, made me feel some type of way. I think it was necessary. I think it was good, because you may not have rebranded if that didn't happen. And that forced you in a way to include all of your motherhood into that process. And we know how challenging that was for you. So I'm glad.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you 1,000%, because I look back at it now, and it was, again, one of the other best things that could have ever happened to me. Because now I believe that just as how I met my husband and then we went our separate ways and reconnected, it was all aligned that way, and God knew exactly what he was doing. Because when it happened to me, I'll be honest with you, when I lost all 3 clients, all within the same week, I'm like, it has to be a sign. But then at the same time, I was mad. I was so mad. Nobody could tell me anything. But then I realized I had that opportunity to focus on being a mom, and also took a time to be like, I'm no longer the same person I was before I was a No longer. And so I find myself like I'm now 10 times more passionate about what I do, about my business, about life, about sisterhood. Because what most people also don't know, I have an associate's degree in women's studies. And I've always been an advocate for women's rights, sisterhood all around. And so for me, I'm like, I'm going to take my business and all the businesses and everything that I'm involved in, I want to share this with, if I can do it, I know anyone else can do it. But I specifically want to share and help other moms out there. It doesn't matter if you're a single mama, you know, first time, second, whatever it is. Like, I just want to share my story. And I just want to continuously keep helping and empowering those. And one of the other great things is that my husband is a great, you know, supporter with this as well. He's also an advocate for women's rights, like every day, all day. You know, and those things are amazing, amazing qualities to have in a partner. So, yeah.
That's good. That's more support that's absolutely necessary from friends, family. I'm glad that you have that because I know how difficult things can be. But now is the time that we move to the part of the conversation where I want to know what advice you have for some of our listeners. So I know you've already provided so many good gems and advice for us, but do you have any other advice for people listening?
So one of the things I'm going to share, one great advice, because I live by this, it works for me, it has worked for a lot of people that I've shared this with, but schedule is everything. It's meaning that you have to take time out for yourself. You are always number one. Okay? Nothing can't get done without you, meaning that if you don't take time out for yourself, meaning that if you don't get that manicure, that sleep, that glass of wine, okay, that girl's night out, that date night, nothing goes right. So you have to, that is very important, and that's high on my list. Ebony needs time for her to be able to produce great events, to be able to give to my son, to be able to give to my husband. So you need to take that time for you to do what makes you happy, that is going to add value to you as a person, that is going to add to you feeling more empowered as a woman, so that you can be able to come back to your family, to your job, to your business, to give it your all. So don't forget to schedule and find that time for you.
That's great advice. And I know that you have so many services that can speak to that advice perfectly. You know, you have your travel company, you have your travel for moms and mompreneurs and entrepreneurs. You also have empowerment socials, like our Women's Her Story event, which was so great, and your basic services, you know, planning events for people and ensuring that people are having fun and spending time with their loved ones. So I truly appreciate everything that you were able to share with us today. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Ebony Cattouse Events, or you can find me my personal, my branded Instagram page, which is Ebony C. Stewart. And also, if you're interested in travel or want to be a part of our travel group, where we do group traveling, we host group traveling of different, where it's girl boss group trips, or the mom, the mom vacation that we talk about, mom vacation, which a lot of folks are excited about. You can find me at _Ebony Travels on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook, same name, Ebony Cattouse Events, or visit my website, ebonycattouseevents.com.
And we can find you on YouTube where?
You can find me on YouTube, yes, Moments with Ebony. You get to see crazy moments with myself and my little family. And I do share a lot, tons of content on entrepreneurship, how you can start a business, a side hustle, how you can get into the event business, also how you can take your talent as an event planner and head into the corporate industry in terms of planning corporate events. So I am filled with tons of content and information. If you if anyone is ever needing help, tips, advice on how to go about doing all of this and getting started, please feel free to send me an email at info@ebonycattouseevents.com.
Thank you for listening to the Shells Exchange podcast. You can check us out at theshellsexchange.com and the Shells Exchange on Instagram. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.